Another CEO Wisdom Pod with Andrea Pagnanelli. She is CEO at National Cycling League. So that one's going to be pretty fun. I love cycling and I'm an Ironman. I have my mountain bike and I just love cycling. Who got like insights on a bike? Was it Einstein? Was it the guy coming back from his lab that invented MDMA that went on his bike and felt fuzzy? I think biking is just like walking. You can get a bunch of insights. Me, I just love popping an audiobook on there while training, and my brain comes up with thousands of insights in my personal life, my business. So cycling is huge. It's fun as well. We've seen the Tour de France type of competition with Lance Armstrong, which a bunch of people don't like. I like Lance. He was battling these hills like a beast, and very inspiring and fun announcers as well. So really glad to have Andrea on today. The podcast brought to you by podbuyer.com. If you want to start, scale, or be invited to a podcast, Andrea, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit more about the National Cycling League.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Charles. I really appreciate it. My name is Andrea Pagnanelli. As mentioned, CEO of the National Cycling League. We are the first majority, minority, and female-owned sports league here in the U.S. It's tremendous to be building a sports league based on pillars of diversity, gender equity, community, and innovation. One of the things that's really exciting is, cycling is the second most participatory sport in the globe. There's 50 million cyclists here in the US, and they spend about $2 billion on cycling gear. There's obviously unicorns like Peloton, Zwift, Wahoo, Strava, but it's a massive market, and it really hasn't been, contained into one league like we're building here in the US before. We're a single entity model similar to the MLS or PLL, but the leagues here are not all built equally. So my experience, I've worked in the NBA, NFL, MLS, NWSL, and they're not all created equally or the same in regards to league structure. And so we are building ours really in the same single entity structure format as the MLS and the PLL. What I find super exciting is, we're taking some of those best practices that were normally reserved for the Big Four and bringing them to the sport of cycling. These athletes are incredible in their own right. And so really trying to elevate their stories and bring, tools like AI and, bigger broadcast deals to elevate their stories. I mean, this is hard for me to say, and Charles and I were kind of getting to know each other a bit before we started recording, but I played soccer at Brown. I still play. I love the sport of soccer and spent a lot of my career building it. And the Tour de France this year had 3.5 billion people tune in, more than the World Cup. So it's the most watched world's event. And that is just absolutely incredible. It's on this upswing. And so just being able to, be in this moment of time and, capture that lightning in a bottle is so interesting.
Right. So much innovation in sport. It's crazy. I see that these GoPros strap on their helmets. So the first view, the heart rate would be so fun to know, and what they're saying to their coaches, what's the mindset at that time? What's their blood glucose? Do they feel weak at this time, but they're still pushing? I think there's so much more we can bring to the viewers. I'd love to learn, though, about your background and how it influences your CEO's performances as of today. What have you brought from the athlete world to the CEO world?
So I think, frankly, I've learned just as much from being an athlete and on the soccer field as I have from the front office. So you learn a lot from being part of a team as you do from your career. And I think a lot of that has to do with managing people. You're managing different personalities as well as recruiting people. So when you look at a team, you need to bring together the best group of people with diverse experiences, different backgrounds, different skill sets to really, in the sense of sports, field the right team, or in the sense of my front office, bring that right set of skills and team together to accomplish the right goal. Not everyone is managed the same way as in sports or in, a front office standpoint. And that takes a certain skill. Leadership is a skill. Being a leader too is, it doesn't matter title wise. A leader could be someone very junior and they just care about the people to their left and right. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are the CEO of a company. And I think as you grow in your career, you learn what it takes to be a leader. And it means that you end up giving more and teaching more. And there's different ways to lead, but there's definitely a difference between leadership and authority. And the great leaders definitely know how to get the most out of their team, whether or not that's because you're a captain of the team, right, on the athletic side, or you're truly the CEO and leading that front office through the goals of the company.
Looking at your CV/LinkedIn, it's just so impressive, the experience you bring there. Why did NCL brought you on board? What do you feel are your core skills and your added value there?
So I'll be very transparent. What I love about your podcast too is people come on and they're just very honest and transparent. So earlier in my career, so this is my fourth sports startup. I don't know, one, two, probably my third C-level position in sports. I don't know, probably fourth or something like that. Earlier in my career, and I've had big roles at a young age, I did have imposter syndrome. I'm approaching 40 now. I do not anymore. And that comes with experience. It definitely helps me lead now because sometimes, I feel like it's easier for the staff to come to me with any problem because I've seen this movie before. And it's easier for me to help. I'm, consistently calm. There's nothing that they can come to me that rattles me. And I think it allows me to step into startup roles and build with a lot of confidence and lead with a lot of confidence. They actually approached me. I was already consulting for the NCL with a lot of different roles. And I had built out a 1 year and 3 year strategy plan. And the board and one of the founders was like, this is yours if you want it. And, very grateful for our founders. They are some of the most, brilliant folks I've worked with before, and their vision for what the future of sports could look like is super inspiring, and it helps me get up every day without an alarm clock.
Hell yeah. I just love what you guys are on to. We're going to discuss about what's on the roadmap in terms of innovation, what you want to bring to the sport and so forth. But before we do, imposter syndrome. I see it every day on this podcast. I had someone tell me the other day that I didn't have enough women on the pod, and I use first, these systems. Okay, is there a bias in LinkedIn database because that's what I use to outreach? Maybe Reid Hoffman is somewhat careful with that. So, and I respect that from him. He's almost on the verge of woke. Some folks would say so, but I still think he's doing a great job. So statistically, I outreach to the exact same number of women CEO. Now, when it comes to me sending the information to them on this podcast, I have big shots in my podcast, and I realized today that the 6 examples were only men. So I'm going to change that. But they get intimidated and they're like, this is probably not for me. I'm not super good at speaking. I'm not sure if I can add value here. Are you kidding me? Like, look at you, you're so great. And me, like, who am I? I'm just the host in this podcast. I'm nowhere near successful, but I have healthy self-confidence, and I know where I'll get, in my future. So why do you think that is? Do you also think that there's a high imposter syndrome in women?
Yeah, and I think it's true. And I'll speak for myself. Imposter syndrome for me came from just being early in my career, right? And not lack of experience, but just it was the first time being in those roles. And now with more experience and the confidence that I can do it because I have, it's a lot easier. Like I am, and not to sound too confident, but very qualified to do my role now. And with that comes, just a lot of excitement knowing that I'll be able to take NCL where it needs to go, because their mission is so important. Building a sports league in the US with the values of diversity, gender equity, community, and innovation. And I'd love to talk to you more about our innovation pillar. Sports leagues don't look like this. I've sat in other seats, even small seats and big seats at other leagues in the US. And there's a massive opportunity too, just based on how many cyclists there are in the US and what the total TAM is. And so it's just great to be here. It's definitely lightning in a bottle.
So cool. I'm watching some tours here. So you're using drones and there you go, a crash. So that's always spectacular. Also in biking, people like, well, it's painful to watch, right? But like in corners or people crashing in groups. I want to talk, about the innovation. I guess it's one of my favorite parts. Well, and you can include diversity in there. Why? Because I call it neurodiversity. Like me, I don't look much at the front end. I've never really been interested in the front end. It came very natural to me as a, kid that grew up on video games. And, I was a big cow in World of Warcraft. So that being said, when you have different brains working in an org, you get innovation. It's kind of a byproduct. So what are you guys working on right now in the organization to bring the sports forward? I see the drone here. I see the GoPro. So the way it is filmed, is there like a platform that fans can participate where they can comment? Are there live streams on Facebook? Like what's up and what's on the roadmap?
Sure. Well, let's take kind of a step back. So when you look at our property, revenue streams look very similar to other leagues and teams. You have media rights. We currently sold ours to GCN, which is the Global Cycling Network. You have ticketing. Most of our events are open to the public. Besides, we do have VIP hospitality, merchandise, sponsorship, which is a big one. So you can be a sponsor of our Cup Series, our individual races, or our teams. We have 10 teams within our league, but we own 2 outright, the Miami Knights and the Denver Disruptors. We own the 2 top teams within ACC. But there's 2 other revenue streams that I think are very exciting. One, sports betting, and I'll walk through why that's super helpful within what we're doing, and also the metaverse. So a lot of sports teams and leagues have moved into the metaverse, but no other sport is as equipped to really impact in a way like cycling. It's a human powered machine. So we take the GoPro data, the, Wahoo data, so your power, your watts, and we put all of this into the metaverse so someone can actually cycle along. There's so many people who have, equipment already at home to be able to do this. So we're not asking them to buy a new headset or equipment to be able to cycle along on all of these courses against some of these professional cyclists, because they already have the equipment set at home. Jason Robbins, who's the CEO of DraftKings, actually came onto our cap table. So we're working to actually look at sports betting as part of 2025. So how that will work is this. So you look at Tour de France, that's a multi-week stage race, which ends on the last day. Our race is a little bit different. As you look at younger generations, they want short form content. So we are a 2.5-hour broadcast. It's a men's race and a women's race, and it's a combination of their points. And that's part of our gender equity model. It'd be if the WNBA played first and the NBA played second, it's a combination of their points. There's points every lap. So let's go with a 30 lap course. you have a qualifier first that really sets the stage for where teams line up. 10% of the points are for the qualifier. 60% of the points are for laps 1 through 29. 30% of the points are for the last lap. So during points 1 through 29, if you finish the lap first, you get 3 points. Second, you get 2 points. Third, you get 1. So it's almost like a sprint finish every lap. And then there's a lot more points for that last lap, which is what traditional cycling is, right? That race of the peloton towards that last lap. So 30 points, 25, like on down. And so you see this excitement. If you go on our Twitter, we've actually cut the broadcasts live, so you can follow along live on our social channels. So you can really see those sprint finishes. So for our last event was actually at the Porsche Experience Center in Atlanta this weekend. You had the Miami Knights that was in third, but they finished first for that last lap and got 30 points, and they actually won the race. So it makes it very exciting, makes it really a prime property for sports betting, and exciting every single lap.
I'd add like the best crowd worker, like the guy that's like, yeah. I'd give him some points. And also like the greatest pain to effort ratio. So
yeah,
the one that has the highest lactic acid, but still keeps on pushing these watts, I can so see a partnership with Lionel Sanders. And yeah, you probably know Lionel. He's a triathlete and he loves going on his Zwift and just beating the crap out of everyone. He's such a beast, he's so familiar with the pain cave. And yeah, partnership with Zwift could be another one here. I had the National Rugby Football League guy yesterday on my pod, and he's trying to build a Drive to Survive like series. Are you thinking of doing something similar?
Of course. I mean, brilliant for him. And he also just got a new broadcast deal on the FS1. So when you talk to him again, tell him congratulations. I mean, you see these emerging leagues, right? Rugby, pickleball, volleyball, us. And it's a wonderful time for these emerging properties. And they have the ability to be very innovative. And, content is really helping, one, promote these athletes and elevate their voices, but I do think also bring more awareness to the sport. So I think that was definitely testament to why the broadcast numbers for Tour de France were so high. If you look at the Tour de France documentary that was on Netflix, if you look at the increase in F1, I think Drive to Survive definitely helped with that. You can see there's Nielsen numbers that came out and just a massive increase over the last couple of years. So, content and storytelling is, definitely, top of mind for us. And I think for a lot of properties, as you think of, growing top of funnel. And so we've been capturing a lot of the footage. We started in 2012, but since the beginning, as we look at what we're going to do with, really growing this property and league and telling the stories of these athletes. I mean, we have one of our top performers on Miami Knights, Andrea Pagnanelli. She put her medical practice on hold. She is a doctor. So it's her dream to ride and get paid professionally. And now she gets to do it, with us.
We're seeing a lot of these CEO / founder transition to athletes. Me, being one of the prime example. Well, not prime, but I'd love to do like a cross country of Mexico, US, and Canada. So I want to attempt that. It's just the time schedule that needs to be figured out. But yeah, would love to have you guys as a sponsor there. That could be pretty fun. Last but not least, where can people find out more about you, Andrea?
So definitely follow us on our social channels, NCL Racing, or our website, www.nclracing.com. Again, I'm Andrea Pagnanelli. Also follow me on any of my social channels, but we're excited for 2024. It's going to be a great second season for the NCL Cup, and would love people to follow along the journey.
I'll tune in, and folks here can stay tuned in for round 2 because, yeah, that was not nearly enough time. I'm Charles Cormier, your host, CEO wisdompodcast.com, and